Hi Gemini, this is Wishko the Ferret. Thanks for hopping into the Ferret Den. We're keeping it warm here, we're keeping it cozy. We have a reading for you today from May 29th to June 4th. There is a full moon in Sagittarius coming up on the 3rd or the 4th, depending on your time zone, so check in with that, and also your favorite astrologer so you can work with that. Manifestation, magic, anything that you like to do, releasing work is very good, I find, around the full moon. We're just going to jump right in. As always, Gemini, drop into your heart space. Let the dust spiritually, physically, and emotionally settle around and within you so that you can determine which messages are for you and which messages are for others. You could be Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you feel called, however you feel called to this reading. But as always, thank you to Archangel Michael for casting your light of protection around me, around us at this time. Thank you to just the general spirit energies, of like my spirit guides and my angel team for connecting me with the Sun, Moon, Rising collective of Gemini for this week. Some of you are taking a trip. If some of you are like taking a trip and you're kind of on the fence about whether or not you should do it, I'm hearing Spirit say book it. But like not book it as in like book it, run away, but book it as in like book that flight, book that thing, because if it's almost like it could be a romantic getaway, it could be just something for you, like a solo vacation type of deal, whatever type of travel that you were thinking of, booking some sort of, like, even if it's something that's not really related to travel, but just staying somewhere else, like booking a hotel just because, like, you need that time. There was a famous author that actually did that, and I can't remember their name, but essentially they would, like, rent out a hotel room just to write in. And that was like their own space because they couldn't really think or write in their house. And I thought that was very interesting, and I've always wanted to do that someday. But just like, you know, whatever you're thinking of, whatever you're thinking about booking, definitely Spirit's like giving you the okay. If you've been kind of on the fence about it, go for it. But the situation here, because we're kicking it old school with the Celtic cross, so I got a whole spread here, and then we'll get into your oracle cards. You have Ace of Swords that wanted to pop out immediately. I meditated like before this video too, and I always just thank them twice just because I have that much gratitude, and it helps get me centered while I shuffle the cards. But the Ace of Swords here was like the first to pop out before I said anything. The Ace of Swords is like a sudden truth or epiphany that you could be having. Spirit could be feeding you information throughout this time, throughout this cycle. The Ace of Swords is clear-cut communication. It is sometimes pronounced as, I just heard, like, maybe you're like a very deep thinker. So there could be one thought that pushes through the rest that could kind of like be your truth. It could be something that humbles you in a sense. I'm not sure if it's like a realization of something. Something about your past or whatever. It's some type of resolution, or it's almost like if your stance has been shaky towards something for a long time, there's some pronounced thought coming through that is kind of like, oh, this is my opinion on the matter. It's almost like you've been kind of back and forth about something, and you've been weighing this side and that side, but it's almost like you're taking a stand, or you're taking like a solid stance on something with the Ace of Swords. And with the Ace of Pentacles as your challenge, so crossing right over Ace of Swords, we have the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles is, Spirit's asking me to tune into this card a little bit more. The challenge could be accepting new financial opportunities that are coming your way. Maybe you're hesitant to take a new financial opportunity because maybe you are a people pleaser, and maybe, I don't know, I'm almost getting a sense that, like, you might want to step away from things that are making you unhappy, but there are people involved. It's almost like, kind of like, it reminds me of a job that's really stressful, and then because everything is so stressful, because everyone is struggling, they form this family-centered atmosphere around it. So you even daring to think that you could get another job that's higher pay, when that opportunity does present, it could be hard for you to even look for those opportunities or find it because you feel so attached to that family situation, because you might not be viewed favorably because of it. And staying is just almost kind of, you know, not only pleasing yourself a little bit because you're like, oh, okay, like I am in my level of comfort. But Spirit's almost saying step out of your comfort zone. So this doesn't quite literally have to be a job that you're moving out of, but move out of that, people-pleasing tendency. Like, okay, some people might just kind of shun you if you want to step up and make something better of yourself. But if they were meant to be in your life for the long term, if they were actually good connections, then they would want you to do better for yourself. And these are people who are typically, people who find themselves stuck in a job or a place is typically because they can't see any other way out of it and they're being their own roadblock. So if there are new beginnings, Spirit's almost like embrace it. And I feel like a new beginning, especially with the Ace of Swords presenting itself as your situation, with the obstacle being Ace of Pentacles, this could be a realization that will then help you to get over this challenge of, starting a new financial opportunity or starting, like moving and shifting away from like something old and then embracing the new. Okay, but in your subconscious, you have disappointment. So the situation that you're finding yourself in now, perhaps you've been dissatisfied with a lot of things. And maybe for some of you, this realization is coming to terms with that disappointment. I do feel like some of you, it's almost like things are meeting your expectations, but you wanted it to be better, or they're not meeting your expectations or something. I'm not really sure why I'm getting like a mixed feeling about that. It's almost like, perhaps something this week, this is something that you would already be feeling coming to this reading, so you'll know what it is as I'm talking to you. But the Five of Cups is about disappointment. And having all of these spilled cups, it's almost like you had certain dreams or you had certain expectations for something. Like you said, okay, it meets like the minimal expectations, but I wanted it to be better. Or like, okay, this is cool, but I want it to be better. And that's where that's like this field of view that I'm seeing for you is like, it fits if you get into like a happier mindset, or I wouldn't say happier. It's almost like, I want to say like disillusioned. I don't really know. It's like you can trick yourself into thinking that this is what you want for yourself, but you know that it's not really what you want. But you're like, you can have your mind playing tricks on you in order to stay where you're at. And it's almost like you are coming to that recognition, that all-seeing, it's almost like your intuition has been telling you and you've been ignoring it, and then all of a sudden it's coming up in your mind now too of, hang on a second, I do deserve better, or I do deserve more, and is recognizing the disappointment that you feel because you wanted something to be bigger than what it was. And then when you found out that it wasn't what you wanted it to be, you're like, oh, this is not great. But in your past, you have taken action on this. With the Six of Wands, perhaps in the past, you have been a leader. You have made like these executive decisions for yourself. You've told everybody around you. You told Spirit. You were like, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. And maybe you had a call to do something greater. You had a call to do that thing. And you made a choice. And you were like, okay, I'm going to do it. And maybe it served its time. But in the future position, you do have the Two of Swords needing to make a choice. Like, okay, is this really, this kind of change, does it really benefit me? Because I do believe that people are ever changing. We are always flowing and going with the changes of life. And we ourselves, we're getting older, we're getting wiser. Some of us are not getting wiser. Some of us are kind of regressing and like, not that it's not, I mean, it's not a big deal, but really just like, because you can tell sometimes when, they always say, like, if you get older, you get wiser, and that's not necessarily true. Some people, like, can't handle the challenges of their life, and they don't learn their lessons, and then, like, they accumulate wisdom, but from a cynical perspective, and then it doesn't really serve people who have, like, a more vibrant stance on life, I guess, or a more hopeful stance on life. If that, I don't know if that really makes sense, but some people actually really struggle with making changes and meeting their challenges. And I do feel like that you are somebody, especially with the Six of Wands even present in your reading at all, Gemini, I feel like you are somebody who can embrace those challenges. And maybe that's just, the crew that you're working with or the kind of people that you're around right now is maybe I'm getting this, like I'm trying to like piece together, because like the Celtic Cross, I always read it a little bit differently than I read Free Flow. It is almost like the pieces of a puzzle, like for my intuition, because there is something coming through about something about your environment and how the people in your environment don't necessarily agree with the things that you want. So it's almost like you're keeping yourself there because you don't want to displease them. And that's kind of like the people pleaser side that could be coming out. And it's not like people pleasing is a bad thing. I think it can be good because it just shows that you want to make people happy, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that people pleasers do tend to lack boundaries. though. So I do feel like there is a little bit of, you know, not having like a strong enough boundary, and boundaries are constantly being broken and being formed. So don't feel bad. This isn't me, like, you know, being like, oh, you're such a people pleaser. Like, we all have some element of people pleasing within us, because that's how sometimes we make friends. That's how we, like, so long as we have strong boundaries, it could indicate, it just indicates good intention. I care about people. I want to make them happy, and that's not wrong. It's not wrong to want to please people. But a lot of people tend to cross their own boundaries and put themselves at risk just to make somebody else happy. And that's where people pleasing becomes an issue. Okay, so you always want to make sure that if you are trying to make someone happy, if you are trying to give your energy or your time to them, that it is from an authentic place. You can still please people from an authentic place by speaking your truth. But if you're not able to do that with your truth, and if it doesn't align with what they believe or what they want, they can't choose what they want for you. Like, they can't choose what you get. You make that choice. And that just means that there's not an alignment. If you're unable to, if your authentic voice or your authentic truth does not align with what they want for you or what they see for you, then it just doesn't align. Does that make sense? So perhaps they're just harping on you because you have the skills to do what it takes to do the job, or perhaps you do it better than other people, or perhaps they really this could even be just friends thinking that you do well in like a certain profession when really you want to make a career change and do something else, and they're like, oh, what a waste, like you were so good at that, and then you're just like, you just gotta be like, you know what, sorry. The main focus for you, like, yes, in the near future you will have to make a choice and rely on your intuition, because that's what the Two of Swords is all about. When you're making that choice, you're relying on your intuition. She's blindfolded, so she's not able to, it's not that she's not able to, but I do feel like the Two of Swords simply chooses not to see sometimes, because she's like, I cannot take the way things have been going anymore. I've made so many decisions to get up to this point, fine, but it's not working for me anymore. Something's not working for me, and I am beyond reasoning. I am beyond able to look at concrete facts and really understand what to do from here anymore. It's just a matter of tuning into your intuition, like, where's life trying to direct me? Where's life trying to flow? The focus for you for this week, the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this reading is the Four of Swords moment, where you need to step into stillness and step into quiet, that deep state of quiet, so that you can really tune in to what are your desires? What is it that you want for yourself? Because once you get those priorities set, once you get those priorities straight, you can really move forward with whatever it is that you want to do. Angle towards it. You might not like be able to take the best directed action towards, I wouldn't say like, so like imagine if somebody does something in a cookie cutter type of way. There's a process, there's a system, you go A, B, C, D. Spirit's almost saying you can curve, like if you can't really fit that system of like, oh yes, I want to do this, but there are all these steps, maybe you can't, like for example, I'm just thinking like if you want to get a car, let's say you don't have a license or a permit or anything like that, but you also don't have the money for a car. Perhaps you can like curve towards that goal by, instead of getting your permit right away and then being like, okay, well now I have to find a car to practice on, you can actually save up for a car, save up first so you can give yourself time to look for people who would want to teach you how to drive or something, and then once you find those people, then your steps can start coming together and it can start actually manifesting, because the money would be a big part of getting a car, right? So it's just a matter of like curve towards it, put the intentions, put the energies. You don't have to make like huge drastic steps towards it, but there is some type of like, spirits like angle yourself in the direction where you want to go, and then the steps will present themselves to you, if that makes sense. So you have the Seven of Pentacles, which I think is perfect because this is the reassessing energy. This is the reassessing card. Seven of Pentacles is taking a look at everything you have so far and going, okay, but has what I've been doing working for me? Is everything that I have so far worth the amount of effort that I put into it? Where can I go with what I have now? It's almost like, yes, you're kind of planning for the future, but it's almost like, what decisions have I made before that led me to this point? And what do I have to do differently to move in the direction that I want? And I feel like for some of you, you have to figure out the direction you want to go. But for some of you, I feel like for a lot of you, for like 75% of you, you already know the direction. You already feel, I'm getting like, sweet, sweet, sweet. And it's almost like sweet, sweet, sweet lemonade. Like, so like the one thing that I actually hear, I hear Minopon Tarot say this a lot about the Seven of Pentacles, where like, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I keep hearing sweet, sweet, sweet. So perhaps that you like, you know, you have some lemons and you're finding, like, you're trying different lemons from different lemon trees, and you're getting to a lemon tree that you've never tried before, but you're like, wow, I just spent all this time growing this other lemon tree, but I find these lemons to be so much sweeter. And it's almost like I want to start over and cultivate something new. I want to start over and start growing this lemon tree. I know I got this lemon tree in the backyard, but you know what? I think I'm going to try this new one. And it's okay to want to start over, because in your environment you have the Ace of Wands. This is a new passion, a new project, a new creative endeavor rising up. This could be a new motivation as well. Perhaps you've always had a passion sitting with you, you just never wanted to pursue it, but now something is driving you forward. It's almost like, I just heard makeshift the effort. So you're not going to 100% feel like doing what you want to do all the time. So like if you are working on a side business, or if you are trying to follow your hobby and you're somebody who actually, it's okay to not want to follow your hobby and make it like a big, like make it your career. Because sometimes a lot of people say that kills the fun of the hobbies, and that's totally okay. But if some of you are actually going towards like a new career, I do feel like this is like a career thing for some of you, but if some of you are moving towards like a new direction in terms of like wanting like to build a life for yourself outside of what you have created for yourself already, the Ace of Wands in your environment section of the Celtic Cross is indicating that you actually have a lot of space to do that. You have the inspiring space, you're actually getting the motivating feelings to want to do that. And it's almost like Spirit's saying like this passion, like amplify that, use it so that you can create things. Like it's almost like you have the tools available. You just need to like take action on it now and start moving your feet on it now so that you can get the ball rolling with it. Okay? And then the hopes and fears, we have the 10 of Cups here. The 10 of Cups in your hopes and fears, to me, obviously, like we would all hope for a 10 of Cups. The 10 of Cups is seen as a very favorable card in the tarot. It's about emotional fulfillment, happiness, whatever that end goal is that you see yourself, whatever situation that makes your heart feel full, that's what the 10 of Cups is. So obviously we all hope for that. The fear side of this, of course, our greatest hopes are often our greatest fears sometimes, because you could have a fear of that success. You could be afraid that it's unattainable. You could be afraid that this emotional fulfillment isn't something that could, you know, satisfy you, and you're like, oh my gosh, well, what if I achieve that, then what now? Or, you know, once I fill up my heart in this way, it's almost like you're worried that, you know, what if what I'm pursuing does not fill up my heart the way that I think it will? And I think that the outcome of this is that, okay, yes, those are pretty valid fears. We all have, like, you know, fearful, like fear is always associated with anything that we want to make happen. There's always fears. And that's totally fine, and that's totally valid. But Spirit wants you to know that it's not as cut and dry as you think, because the outcome is the 4 of Cups. But the reason why this is an amazing card and excellent for this position, especially given the context of the reading, is that you will have options. And you can afford to be picky. So it's almost like, let's say you want to be, I don't know why specifically medical is coming through, like a service worker, but if you want to be an EMT, for example, there are many ways to become an EMT. You can go through the volunteer program, you can go out and become certified, you can do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 like depending on where you live, like a state and everything. And, you know, I'm speaking with just for, like, the USA. I'm sure there are other terms and different agreements throughout other countries in the world to first responders. But I'm just thinking of an example right off the bat here. So there are multiple pathways to get to what you want to do. And it's almost like Spirit saying you have your way with options. I mean, you don't have to pursue one particular path. If you're finding that doesn't work for you, then you can always pursue a different path. It's almost like I don't know, Spirit's saying something about a lifeline, but I'm not sure what that is. It's almost like this passion could actually be some of your guys' lifeline. Like you can't breathe without writing or painting or going, I don't know, specifically jogging every day. I don't know. Some of them are like, there could be something that you're not really able to live without, and you can turn that into a financial opportunity should you want to, basically. But I have a lot of cards jumping out for you for the Oracle. So let's just get into it right away. I don't know. I find the 4 of Cups to be very favorable just because it's saying you have options. And then because you have so many options, you will afford to be picky. So the fear that things are going to end up the way, like maybe you want to pursue something but you don't want to do what everyone else is doing and follow that simple trajectory, or maybe you want to go into medical but you see everybody around you going for nurses and that's not really something that you want to do, and you want to be like something completely different but you want to start off as everybody being a nurse. Like that's fine too. You can always transition into something else. Just make sure that you have, like, in terms of like certifications, like make sure you're planning appropriately so that you can get the pathway there. But you know, this is almost like somebody who finds a job that ends up paying for school. Like, I don't know why some of this way is coming up, but like you don't have to, like, there are ways that you could be thinking of, like, oh my gosh, I have to come up with all this money out of pocket, or oh my gosh, I have to do all of these things that everybody else did. My friend had to sell all of their assets in order to afford this in regards to their future. And you can do things in a different way, and there are other methods to get there. There are other ways of doing things. So Spirit's asking you to be open to that, and if you ask, they will show you the way. Like I said, sit in meditation and let them present the steps to you. Okay, you have Pig Spirit. Use your mind wisely, and this is kind of what I was saying before about, you know, make sure that you are making the appropriate plans. Like if you want to do, you're taking very strict measures is what Spirit is saying. And that is very smart and very wise. Spirit's also saying, though, that like you need to allow room to breathe. You need to allow Spirit room to breathe and to work their magic, to present you with opportunities. So try not to be such a stickler or sticking so strictly to one particular path when Spirit could present you with another. Just make sure that, like, if you are doing something like wanting to be a doctor or a lawyer or wanting to do something with certain certifications, make sure that you're meeting all of those requirements and that you're finding a way to do that, but plan multiple paths to it and be open to receiving that however and whenever it comes to you. Okay, so make sure that you're planning different routes, and then also just allowing some space and time for Spirit to kind of work their magic and present you with opportunities that you could benefit from as well. Turtle Spirit, slow and steady wins the race. I got the chills when I'm looking at this card. I just got the chills coming up my legs. And I feel like a lot of us, like, this is success that we want to rush. I feel like oftentimes we as people want to get things done now. We want to get there. We want to get to this 10 of Cups emotional fulfillment, because that's the hope. And I know a lot of us think that, oh, well, I'm not going to know if it's really for me until I actually succeed and get there. Whatever success looks like for you, I'm putting it in quotes for a reason. It's because success, like, is honestly, like, a lot of people feel like, oh, once I attain this, then I will know for sure. And oftentimes we forget that, you know, life is never a destination because it's always in motion. They always say that cliche, life is about the journey, and they're not wrong. It's mainly because we are always in motion. We are always having to deal with the highs and the lows of life. We're always having to deal with the connections in our life and handle life circumstances and all this other stuff. So nothing will ever look picture perfect. In that one still moment, that one still image in our mind that we envision emotional fulfillment or emotional happiness to be, there's always going to be, it's more complicated than the simple scene that we see of ourselves holding up this manuscript of, I finished this book, or crossing the finish line to get to the end of the marathon and winning the race, basically. It's not gonna look fully like that because there are so many things surrounding that moment, and there are so many things interwoven into that moment that make up the complexities of life, that that finding it, the wisdom here is that as you move through life, as it's almost like learning to live with emotional fulfillment. So getting the things not only that fill you up, but being able to find lifestyles that consistently meet your needs, that fill you up and replenish you on a spiritual and emotional and physical level. Finding things to focus on that make you feel happy and full so that you can walk in emotional fulfillment towards the thing that you are trying to achieve in order to get emotional fulfillment. Does that make sense? Because what I'm saying is that once you get that thing, your life is going to be the same. And I'm not like, yes, your life is going to look different, and maybe you can live life differently, but you're still going to have many segments of life that make it complex, that's going to make it feel kind of weighed down a little bit, because that's just life. We're meant to live with it, you know. Life is a journey, and like we have to deal with the sufferings of life sometimes, and that's just what it is. But suffering isn't to fear; it's there for a reason. So what I'm saying to you is that there's no rush. There's no rush. What are you rushing for? Because if you think that one thing's going to give you the ultimate happiness, it's, you know, I mean, like, you're going to get there and you're going to be the same person. Does that make sense? That was a message actually specifically. I didn't realize as I was talking about it and as I was getting to the point. That's actually something that Chloe Taylor has pronounced many times throughout her reading. And, you know, after like much intense research and much of my own like relationships with like the different audiobooks that I've listened to and like all these other things, something that has highly resonated with me because I am also a goal-oriented person. I very much want to achieve. I want that success. I want to build something of my own. But oftentimes we don't like to see this wait card. It's not really wait. It's like move, but move slowly. Don't be in such a rush to get anywhere because slow and steady, it's like that, you know, that, what is it? That one story with the turtle and I think it's like the fox or like another fast animal. But, you know, slow and steady will win the race because he takes his time and then, you know, the fox gets there, but then he gets lost or something because he was so set on, I don't even know if that's like, I don't know if that's like an old story that everybody's very familiar with, but there's always, it's a very common literary trope of, you know, somebody who like takes their time with things and in the long run they can sustain it long term. They have the stamina to do things and they do it long term and they're not trying to rush, and then because of their patience they do it, and because everybody else rushes and cuts corners, you know, they go off the path and then they're like, oh crap, where's my destination, because they were too busy rushing. They weren't enjoying their time, you know. And you have chameleon spirit. Act as if. So if you want to get to a place, your journey is going to be filled with a lot of highs. So like, don't get me wrong, Spirit's actually trying to assure you, like, you will have a lot of highs in your life. But don't go looking for them and running rampant suffering trying to get to them. Let them naturally flow to you, okay? But with chameleon spirit, act as if. What we really wanted you to take away from this card is that the chameleon blends in with their environments. And step into the person that you want to be. This is more, sometimes people look at the chameleon spirit and say, oh, but it's like conformity. Not necessarily. So the chameleon, you know, I just heard spread your wings too. That's so funny. So the chameleon spirit, they might live on a tree trunk. Let's say there's a chameleon that lives on a tree trunk. There's all these ants everywhere. There's all of these, like, you know, common bugs everywhere running around. And the chameleon says, well, I want to go to a different tree. I want to move on. I want to go be a different tree. Okay? And it's a purple tree. Let's say he's on a brown tree. He's on like a brown trunk. But then he gets to, he sees a purple tree. He's like, I want to be over there, though. So then he turns himself purple. He starts to think like a purple tree. He starts to act like the purple tree. He starts to be as if he is on the purple tree, but he's not. And then all the other bugs are laughing at him like, ha ha ha, you don't look like you're on the tree. Like, chameleons wouldn't do this in real life, guys. They disguise themselves so they don't get eaten by predators, but hear me out, I promise. Eventually, the chameleon does come off of that tree. Even though everyone's laughing at him, he's just going to keep going and go on the purple tree, and he's going to fit right in. Not only that, but it's almost like he calls it in, because the bugs, like, on that tree are like, oh, hey, I recognized you from over there. Like, it's almost like they were, like, cheering him on as he was coming, like that. The energy works like that. So if you're trying to step into the energy that you are already, like, embodying, the energy around you that you want to seize, the energy that you want to step into, when you're already acting as if, it's almost like a fake it till you make it type of vibe, but it's also just like, I'm going to act successful and in my mind feel successful, because that energy is going to attract the successful energy and make you successful. Like, I don't know, it's like a law of attraction thing. It's just a metaphor provided to help you think of it, because energy, like, our universe is an exchanging of energy, whether we know it or not. Energy is around us everywhere. As somebody who studied spirituality, my gifts have kind of opened, and like for 2 years, sometimes I hear energy, but I hear it clairaudiently sometimes, which is very strange. So like, I might hear other people's thoughts, I might hear my own thoughts echoing back to me, and I'm like, oh, but it's like not in my language. So it's interesting. It's not really, Spirit's like, it's not really time to talk about it, but basically you would be surprised with not only like different headspaces that you're in, but different locations and environments, different like ways that you're, or like different things that you're focusing on. We're always doing energy work. We're always focused on, we're like, I wouldn't say focused, but because we are energy ourselves, we are always exchanging energy and working with different vibrations. A lot of us just aren't aware of it. It's because our thoughts are energy, our moods, our physicality, the way that we carry ourselves, it's all energy. And it all works with us. So, you know, I mean, that's something. I had like 5 cards, so I'm going to wait for some jumpers. Oh, I see that. See, and you know what? And now I got 3 more popping up. You know what? I'm just going to let there be a lot of cards for you. Y'all got lucky. So, we have, oh, and one of these cards was tried to come out before too. Okay, wow. So, you have time for a nap. When I get this, interestingly enough, the focus card with the 4 of Swords, some of y'all just need to sleep more. I'm gonna be real with you. Sometimes you might have been losing sleep worrying over something. Really taking the time, like, for time for a nap, sometimes that is quite literally resting and rejuvenating the physical body. And other times it is just taking a moment to step back and be with yourself so that you can really tune into your intuition. Sometimes when we are so stressed and when we're so in it, like we're like really hardcore in it, a good way to shift your energy is by replenishing your physical energy and taking a nap. But taking some time to step with yourself in a time of healing, or even just to enclose, like I'm hearing the word enclosure, so like enclosing yourself away from the world, like keeping like a low profile while it's almost like going into hermit mode. While you work with your intuition and sort out which choice you need to make or which direction you need to go, like what needs to happen in order for you to move forward. But there's just something here about needing to replenish and needing to rejuvenate, because some of you might actually be trying to move too fast. Some of you might actually be trying to work too many gears at the same time, and Spirit is like saying, you know what, that's nonsense. We appreciate how much you want to go for your dreams. We appreciate how much you want to do this, but you're working your gears too much and you got to slow it down. And if you don't slow it down, Spirit will slow it down for you. As somebody who overworks, I'm telling you, let me tell you, it has happened to me so many times. It is always the dumbest things. But I mean, I've had things like muscle tears to surgery to freak accidents, like because I would not stop moving. I would not stop working. I would not take a day to myself. And not only do we like put more strain on our emotional and our physical bodies, but it's just, it causes us to make mistakes because we're not in the best condition. And sometimes those mistakes can cost you, but Spirit will give you the rest that you need, and that's not like meant to scare anyone, but you know, they will find a way. Spirit will give you the rest that you need if you don't, you know, put the brakes on it for a little bit and at least slow your pace. Okay? You have blessed. So any path you take right now is blessed, regardless of whether you choose to, you know, if this is a job you're moving away from, if you choose to stay in that position, if you choose to go. Or even if you choose to, like, you know, change direction and focus, like turn your awareness to something else. Spirit is saying act as if you're blessed, because you are. So Spirit told me like individual behaviors. So maybe this is really isolate the different, like, I don't know. Hang on, because there's like some other stuff coming through. Let me just sit with this for a second, because like I'm on the verge of saying something, and then Spirit's coming through with like some other extra stuff. So. Spirits, like when I listened clearly, and they were like, I was like, what does this mean? And they're like, they're just blessed. Like, they're just blessed. And there's no need to make it more complicated, but they want you to take on the attitude of somebody who is blessed, because perhaps you've been pronouncing your problems a little bit too much. Perhaps you've been putting too much attention towards your issues or your worries or your problems, or you've been trying to problem solve, but it's almost like you're turning it over in your head too much. And Spirit is almost saying, like, take on the attitude of gratefulness and feeling blessed, so that that energy can attract more. Not only can it attract more, but it just makes you overall just feel happier, because it's really not that it's not like they're making light of your situation, but they want you to not take on as much heavy energy, if that makes sense. It's a lot of heavy energy that I think you've been carrying for a little bit, and Spirit's saying just give it a little bit of lightheartedness, and it would help to rest. It would help to rest, to ease that. You have community and here and now cards. Community is actually finding your sense of worth within your community. So there's something like, maybe there's like a part, like something in a community that you wish to fulfill, a role that you wish to fulfill in your community, or perhaps you just don't rely on them enough. There's something here that, like, desiring something in your community that it doesn't provide. Either you're not in the role that you want to be in, or you're not seen the way that you want to be seen, or you don't feel that you have a strong enough support system to be your own community. And Spirit is saying, focus on, like, everything is a network. Everything is a community. If you know a connection, even if you only say hi to your next door neighbor, like, every other day or something, and you don't really talk about anything, that's still a part of your community. Spirit is saying that, you know, seek out these connections, because they're really going to help you ground yourself in the here and now. And also I just hear, like, you're a busy person, and you're flying around a lot. And there's nothing wrong with flying around a lot, but Spirit is saying just being present will help you express more joy. And I do want to say, for whatever reason this example is coming through, I had to, so, like, well, once upon a time I got really, really crazy, and I had 3 jobs at the same time. It was insane. I had 2 days out of the week where I worked 24 hours straight, and it was awful. Like, on my one day off, because I carefully planned it, I had one day off, which was Saturday, and I slept for 17 hours every week. Like, obviously, because the rest were 16-hour days and 24 hours. So when I finally decided, because I looked at my planner and actually kept track of all of my hours from each job, and then I said, you know what, because after a month and a half I was like, I obviously can't do it. I dropped one, I kept the other 2, and worked for a very long time with both jobs, you know, with 16-hour days. But I dropped the 24 hours, and that last 2 weeks, when I put in my 2 weeks notice for that place, in my mind, it was like almost healthier for me, because I said, okay, I'm just going to take this one day at a time, because I don't even have that much time left. I have 2 weeks left to do this. I can make it. And not only, I did not realize, not only did I work the most hours out of that whole month and a half that I had 3 jobs, not only did I work the most hours that week, or those last 2 weeks out of all of the other weeks, I ended up feeling so, my attitude was so good. So it's just so interesting how, like, that was kind of like my brain explosion moment of, holy crap, like, it was my attitude throughout this whole thing that was making me miserable. There wasn't an end in sight, but when I saw an end, and when I stayed present, I just told myself one foot in front of the other, and when I focused on the here and now, I got there. Like, I got there, and I didn't suffer doing it. I didn't suffer doing it because I was looking forward to it. I was feeling wonderful about it. I was feeling blessed to have made this realization. And I stayed present. And that took so much power away from all of the external influences that I felt were doing this to me, rather than me making the choice to stay there. Does that make sense? So I really just feel like staying present really does shift our mindset in ways that we wouldn't think until they happen. And we're like, holy crap. I didn't think that would make such a difference. And when you're able to articulate that difference, when you're able to see them, like, the different facets of how your mind changes when you are in the present, it's actually pretty incredible. It's amazing. It's a different experience for everybody, but just letting you know, rely on your community. Your community will help ground you and keep you present. And I just heard someone say, I'm ready. So perhaps maybe after this reading you feel ready, or maybe you just feel ready to make this change after, like, sitting in this present energy for a while. But when you feel the most present, that honestly, personally in the present, I feel more confidence in the present. Because when I think about things from the future, it causes me to get a little bit frightened, and I clam up a little bit, because I'm like, there's so much to do, there's so little time. I feel the pressures of deadlines. But when I focus on the here and now, and I try to envelope that feeling of why not, then we truly become so powerful. Like, I can do anything. So you will be ready. You will feel ready. You will feel ready when you get more present, and when you just focus on the here and now. So your numbers are 974, and I'm pulling from Angel Numbers by Kyle Gray, and we'll see what your message is. 974. Any closing messages for our Gemini here? Your angels are encouraging you to know that you are at the end of one phase or cycle, and are asking you to trust them as they guide you to the next. Old illusions are being revealed and released now. Ooh, I got the chills with the old illusions. Let me say it one more time, because I always say them twice. Your angels are encouraging you to know that you are at the end of one phase or cycle, and are asking you to trust them as they guide you to the next. Old illusions are being revealed and released now. What did I just say about, like, coming in, stepping into your space, and then letting Spirit show you the next steps? there you have it. So, Gemini, that was your reading for today. Thank you so much for allowing me to connect with your energy, and thank you to the angel guides, the spirit teams, and all the other energies present for helping me channel. I hope that was uplifting for you, and I hope you feel inspired towards positive change that is more closely aligned with your authentic truth and that makes you feel powerful, badass, like whatever it is that makes you feel strong and powerful. I hope that's what this did for you. As always, Gemini, go ahead and like and subscribe if this resonates with you. It really helps the channel grow. And I don't know, I just like interacting with you. So leave a comment down below and tell me how it resonates, what moves you're thinking about making or what moves you're gonna make. I love to hear it. And yeah, I post often. So yeah, you won't be missing content from me. I'll catch you next time. I love you, I love you, I love you. And I hope you have the best week. Bye.